Now, chapter 4 of Theologico-political Treatise, Baruch Spinoza, it's about divine law. This is a very interesting chapter. He starts off by explaining to us what a law is, and he calls it like a plan that is agreed upon by people to live by. Not really agreed upon, but a plan by which people live by. And he then divides it into two. He says there is the law of nature, basically, and then there is the law by human decree. And law of nature, of course, we'll understand is things that happen in nature and we have no control over. Things have to happen the way they have to happen. Is graffiti. There's nothing about that. It's a law that we found there. It exists. It's mostly laws that we've discovered through scientific study. And yeah, so there's those natural laws, but then there are these laws by human decree, and these are laws we enact through parliaments, and then we agree upon as a commonwealth that this is how we are going to live. Yeah, so those laws. So I'm going to read the first, I think it's the first or second paragraph. It says, however, as the true object of legislation is only perceived by a few, and most men are almost incapable of. Okay, let me not read that fast. I think I need to explain something that I found so interesting, and it's something that I've thought about many times, and it's this. When it comes to observing the law in a commonwealth, there are those people who understand why the law exists, and they might choose to follow it because they understand why it is there. Generally, the laws are there for there to be order in society. If there are no laws, then society falls into chaos, and that's a big threat. But then they have the majority who don't know why the laws are there, but they live under the laws. And for them, they observe the law because they fear the penalties. They fear, if I do this, I'm going to jail. So for them, that's all they know about the law. If I steal, I'm going to jail. I don't want to go to jail, so I don't steal. If I break a traffic rule, they are going to fine me. I don't want to be fined. And so for them, it's fear or reward. That's how they look at the law. Like, I follow the law so that I am not punished, or I follow the law so that I'm rewarded. That's the majority of people, and that's the argument that he makes. But then there are those who are very few in society who understand that the traffic law is not there just for punishment and whatever. The ultimate reason why it's there and why I should observe it is so that there is order on the road, so that all of us have an easier life. The reason why there is a law not to steal is so that we don't steal and then society falls into chaos, into anarchy. There are those who understand that, but they are the minority. So for them, they might follow the law, not because they fear the punishment of it, is because they understand why it is so important for us to have laws and to follow laws. Now, he uses this, in fact, that paragraph I was about to read is what it says. Basically illustrates that when it comes to the law of the Commonwealth, there are those who understand the law is there so that we have order, and order is good for all of us. But there are the majority who don't understand that the law is there for order, and for them they think the law is there for, like, they follow it because they don't never even think about they don't even know consciously that the law is there for order. For them, they follow the law because they fear punishment, or they stand to get a reward. He uses this to explain the divine law. And divine law, to him, is law that comes from God. It can come from God through the prophets, or mostly through the prophets. But then he says, now, there are those who follow the laws from God because they fear the punishment from God. They fear the punishment from God. I'll give an example. There are people who, I'm not going to steal, I'm not going to murder, I'm going to respect my parents. They do all this because either they fear punishment in the life after, or they're looking forward for a reward in this life. They're like, I'm going to do good for my parents because then I'm going to be blessed and live a happy life. So that is same as people who follow the law because they fear going to jail or getting a reward. It's the same. But now this is now in regard to God. But he says there are those who do what they imagine or think God wants them to do, not because they fear punishment or they are looking forward to a reward, but they are doing that because of their understanding, their Natural reason has brought them to the understanding, and he calls it to the knowledge of God and to the love of God. Now, then that's when it becomes divine law. That's the way he explains it. Um, I won't read the other paragraph I was about to read because I've basically explained what it says. I'll read the next one. In truth, a man renders everyone their due because he fears the gallows, acts according to the say of compulsion of others, and cannot be called just. But man who does the same from the knowledge of true reason for law and their necessity, acts from their firm purpose and of his own accord, and is therefore properly called just. Now, there are verses in the Bible that talk about this, and I had never understood. For example, there's a verse that's saying that those who live under the law, maybe I might have put it down. Hopefully, I did, or I forgot that if you live under the law, you are not just. But if you live off the law, you can only be just if you are not living under the law. And that it's never used to click in my head until I read this book, because now he explains when you live under the law is when you live in a situation where you are following the law because you fear penalties or you expect rewards. Then you are living under the law. But you are not living, you are just when you do what the law expects because you understand the bigger picture. You understand the purpose of it. You understand why it's there. The final goal it's supposed to achieve. Then you are just. So he says, this I take is Paul's meaning when he says that those who live under the law cannot be justified through the law. That's the first I was thinking. For justice, as commonly defined, is the constant and perpetual will to render every man his due. Thus Solomon says in Proverbs 21:15, it is joy to the just to do judgment, but the wicked fear. Meaning, like, for it is joy for the just, those who understand why the law is there. It's joy for them to just follow the law because they understand what's the big picture. Why do we need this law to be around? But those who are wicked basically follow the law because they fear the repercussions. They fear the punishment. So they might want to do this, but they're like, let me not do it. Let me not go and steal because I fear going to prison. But for those who are just, they will not kill because they understand why they shouldn't do that, why it's not a good idea. They know that will lead society into chaos, into anarchy, and that's not good. And then there's this other paragraph. It says, law, then being a plan of living in which men have for a certain object laid down for themselves, or may as sin be divided into human law and divine law. So I'll say the human law is the law that we come up with. Like, this is where we are going to live. The divine law is the law of God, but it has for it to be divine is that we follow it because we understand its purpose. It can't be divine if we don't understand its purpose and we are just following it because we fear the repercussions if we don't. By human law, I mean plan of living which only serves which serves only to render life and state secure. By divine law, I mean that which only regard to the highest good. In fact, now he says the divine law is the one that comes from understanding of the knowledge of God and love. So basically that's what he calls divine law. He goes on to say, there's this other part where he says that he alone lives by the divine law who loves God not from fear of punishment or from love of other objects such as sensual pleasure, fame, or the like, but solely because he has knowledge of God or is convinced that the knowledge of the knowledge and love of God is the highest good. So comes the same point. It's divine law if you do it not because you fear punishment or you are looking forward for a reward later, but because you understand why we need to follow these rules. And in fact, he says the ultimate argument is basically making is that divine law comes from natural reason. When you have this natural reason that you think about things and you understand everything the way it is, then you are capable of following the divine law, because now you don't follow the law because you are looking forward to a reward or you fear punishment, but because you understand the bigger picture. You've sought for God and understood that big thing that is beyond us all and the good that is in it. And now you follow this law because you understand that, not because you are looking for a reward later on, or because you fear punishment. He says the worldling cannot understand these things. They appear foolishness to him because he has Two, miaga of knowledge of God, and also because his highest good, he can discover nothing which he can handle or eat, or which affects the fleshly appetites wherein he chiefly delights. For it consists solely in the thoughts and pure reason. They, on the other hand, who know that they possess no greater gift than intellect and sound reason, will doubtless accept that I have said without question. So he basically says there are those, the majority will not understand this, because for them the world or law functions in what is the reward, what is the punishment. But he says those who go through the reason, then they go beyond what is the reward, what is the punishment. Then they are like, what is the bigger good out of this law? And then that law becomes the divine law.